welcome to the Midnight Frightcast episode number 3. I'm Josh. So we have quite the amount of things to cover tonight. So we should just jump right into it before we start, though. Patrick, week. How?
You know, the week went pretty well. I actually went and saw my doctor today.
Okay.
It's been several months since I've seen the doctor, which is bad since I'm diabetic.
Oh, yeah.
So I got back in with him, and he said, "Why have you gained so much weight?" And I said,
that's a good start.
Yeah, there's a good start right there. And my doctor's German, so he has no tolerance for us big, fat, overweight Americans. And but it was a good meeting with him. I told him I'm back on track because I haven't really been taking care of myself, but I am now. So that's a good thing right there.
Yeah.
And the rest of my week, you and I were talking about this earlier, that my family pretty much knows all of our Christmas gifts, and it's like 3 days away from Christmas, and wrapping at this point. Wrapping the gifts is moot.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason to even do it at this point. So, and that all happened by accident. But it was an interesting week.
Those
that
are
way.
the best stories ever.
Yeah.
Accidental discoveries of Christmas
right,
gifts.
Right.
Yeah. So
How?
it was good. I did a lot of. So I found an old notebook from a really. Not that long ago, but it's been a while since I've opened this notebook. And I have, my wife will tell you this, I have, 20 notebooks, just regular notebooks in my basement, just full of, and each notebook has a different script in it. And I found an old notebook going through, I was cleaning up crap the other day, and I found an old script that I had forgotten about, and I dug out that notebook and started to go through it. So I started writing on a new old script this week that I'm super excited about. So I started knocking that out, and then I've just been. Have you been on Crypt TV before?
I was just there today for something, but I can't remember what for.
They've been. I watched one video earlier this week, and then I was so into that. They drop little short videos, and right now they're dropping little holiday videos.
You know, I know exactly what it was because it leads into our first movie. That we're going to talk about. But I was there because they hosted the short of the original.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So they've been doing holiday shorts lately. And so there's two on there. There's one called Milk and Cookies.
No, that was what I saw.
See that?
That is what I saw.
Which was the guy telling the little girl, don't eat Santa's
the
cookies. And then she goes out there and if you haven't seen or haven't been on Crypt TV, go on Crypt TV. They have these nice little holiday shorts on there. Check out Milk and Cookies. And then they have one on there I watched today called Elf on the Shelf, which I was like, my kids will love this one. But I didn't show it to them because the couch isn't that comfortable in my house. So yeah, that was kind of my week. A lot of writing, a lot of work because I work retail. So it's been super busy, but the writing is back on track, which I'm super excited about because I feel like I haven't picked anything up and done anything for a while. So I'm into that. And also you worked on, this week you worked on Bloody Night Before Christmas.
That's right.
So we're close on that.
We're very close on that. In fact, I do want to drop it before Christmas even happens because we want to. Well, I mean, we kind of blew the surprise because, but I also want people to be looking for it. So
yeah.
So we're gonna have a little short that's a little gift from Midnight Fright Films to you guys. That should be ready in the next couple of days.
Yeah, we shot that 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
It's 2 years late.
Right.
But it's better late than never, right?
Oh, definitely.
So tonight we talked last week about what we were gonna watch. I don't know if we actually talked about it on the podcast or if we talked about it after we went off the podcast, but tonight there's a movie that we had been talking about and Patrick's never seen. So I was like, oh man, he got a hold of it. However, he got a hold of it, and I was like, we should totally watch that because I'm a huge fan of the franchise in general, and they got a new one coming out next year. So this week we are dissecting James Wan's 2004 film Saw. And I love this movie, but right out of the gate, I'm going to get Patrick's initial reactions, because did you just watch it today?
I did watch it yesterday.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's pretty fresh, and I see his notes.
Oh, I have a page and a half of notes here.
Initial out of the gate. I just want to hear Patrick's reaction. Go, sir.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm just going to describe the movie here real quick.
Yes,
little synopsis. The directorial debut from filmmaker James Wan, psychological thriller, comes from the first screenplay by actor Lee Wannell. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
He also stars in the movie, playing Adam, one of the two men chained up in a mysterious chamber. The other, Dr. Gordon, played by Carrie Elwes. They both have no idea why either of them got there or how they got there. Neither of them are led to feel optimistic by the man lying between them, dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Together, the two must attempt to piece together what has happened to them and who the sadistic man behind their imprisonment is. Also starring Danny Glover and Monica Potter.
Yeah.
All right.
So the cast out of the gate. First of all, I had never even heard of Lee Wannell, so I'll be really honest about that.
Right.
Cast out of the gate though was great because I just want to say that because he just dropped who was in it. So I'm gonna shut up now because I want to hear Patrick go.
And not only those the people that I mentioned, but the person who played Zepp also played Ben Lyons. I think was the character's name from the TV show Lost.
Yes,
incredible character acted there. The Asian actor that was Danny Glover's
other cop.
The other cop.
Yeah, yep.
I believe he was in Lost as well. I remember seeing him in something else. So they really did have a really good group of actors in this movie. With that said, what the hell happened?
Okay.
Now he's looking. Josh is looking at me.
Exactly,
because Josh is a huge fan of this movie. I know he's a huge fan of this movie. So maybe it was just a little too hyped up for me. Okay. I don't know.
That might be my fault. Did I do that?
I don't know. My oldest daughter loves the Saw series. Absolutely loves it, and she always recommends it to me. So I'm, thinking, okay, maybe I should watch these. But with that said, I still enjoyed it.
Okay.
Even though I felt some of the acting was subpar, Carrie Elwes to me was a huge disappointment.
Really? Okay.
And the other actor, James Wannell, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Lee Wannell.
Lee, that's it, Lee. He, I don't know, it's one of those things that if you're the screenwriter, maybe you should step away from the project and let someone act it for you.
Okay.
I don't know. For some people it works. For some people it doesn't. For James Wan's directorial debut, I thought it was pretty solid.
Yeah.
The guy knows how to direct. He really does.
Proof.
So there's things in there in this movie, but once again, the performance and there was some writing issues that I had with it.
What were those?
Things were just, I don't want to say cliche, but the lines were set up to bring up the next line. Okay. And I wish I knew how to describe that better. Okay. It's like, why'd you turn off the light? Well, so we could see the dark. They totally spoon fed each other all the way through. So I did write down this line. I said, so what made me like it? Okay. And I'm wondering if it was the way it was directed that made me like it.
Like shot and like
the cinematography for it. Because I can't say that the dialogue of the screenplay was that great, but the screenplay itself, the way it was set up and structured, I think worked really, really well.
Okay, did he write that by himself, or did he write that with James Wan, and then they separated as far as like, you're going to direct this and I'm going to play this?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was co-written or not. Because I know that he did write the original short. Yes. For it. And I got to say, I love Billy, the puppet.
Yes, on the
tricycle, but also, I mean, with him on the screen and all that other stuff. That it is, and if you haven't seen it, go out to YouTube. There's a living with and working with Jigsaw. They're two little funny clips. If you're a Saw fan, they're very funny things. So, once again, going back to that, what made me like it? Because now I do want to see the others. Yeah. And see what happens with it. And I did a little bit of research. And there's some things, I believe, in Saw 3 that explain some of the plot holes in Saw. Because there are some pretty big plot holes in Saw.
It's really 7 movies of filling in the... How do I say this right? It's 7 movies of filling in what happened in the previous movie. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, But I understand they all kind of tie in with the first one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh, well, like you just said, there's this big giant plot hole in number 4. So in number 5 or 6, we're going to go back and fill that hole in.
Right.
So people can go back and they can watch Saw 4 and then they can tie it back to this one. And it all kind of makes sense at the end. But I'm
going to expose some of those holes here.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Because I love exposing the hole.
And now I'm going to have to go back and fucking watch it again.
Well, you may already know the answers to some of these things. Yeah. Exactly. Spoiler alert. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, it's a 2003 movie. 2004. If you haven't
seen it yet.
Yeah.
Unless you're being forced to watch it.
Okay, so the first one is, how the hell did he lay motionless for 8 hours? Okay. Because I went and looked. Some people said, oh, well, he laid motionless for 90 minutes. And I said, well, that's the length of the movie. If you look at the clock at the very beginning, it's like 10:30.
Okay. I'm waiting for you to say what you're going to say next.
But it goes all the way to 6 o'clock. So he's sitting there for 7.5, almost 8 hours.
Yeah.
Motionless.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, how the hell did he do that without breathing, moving, anything? So to me, that was a big plot hole.
Okay. I thought you were going to follow that up with, I went back and researched, and there's no way anybody can lay still for that long. I was like, oh, man, you dug deep.
No.
Okay.
So that's the first one. But from what I understand, that is addressed in another movie. But to me, if I would have been sitting there in 2004 watching this, I would have gone, that bugs the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is technical. Not a lot of people would know this. How the hell were they electrocuted? Because they only had chains attached to one leg. They weren't grounded. So there's no way that there was a current that could run through their body. So that bothered me.
Okay.
So that's a technical thing that not everybody's going to pick up. Okay, here's another technical thing. Okay. Cell phones. The cell phone that he picked up, he said, this has been adjusted so that it can only receive phone calls.
Jeez, I don't really know digging into this stuff. Okay.
But by law, every phone has to be able to dial 911.
Oh, yeah? Okay. I gotcha.
Okay.
Jeez.
So he's an oncologist. He's a doctor making lots of money. And he has a line in there that says, well, I couldn't be there because my wife had the car.
Okay.
What doctor, daughter situation, there's only one car in the family.
I got you
okay, maybe somewhere down the road they say, oh, the other one is being fixed. I don't know. But I'm so that made me laugh when I heard that line.
Okay.
My wife had the car. What? My wife and I are making dirt. We have 2 cars. Okay. Here's one. At the very end.
Okay.
How did the doctor not notice that there were no shell casings in the gun? So when he pulls the gun to put the bullet in, there's no shell casings in there. No empty rounds.
Okay.
But the guy supposedly shot himself to death.
Yeah. You got it. I mean, yeah. I didn't think about that at all.
But I will say in the heat.
Ruining so me.
There you go. I will say this. In the heat of the moment, I wouldn't even think of looking at that. I would have said, fuck it. I got to kill this guy.
Yeah, so
give me the gun. Plug that thing in there. So those are things like, I can figure this out while I'm sitting in the comfort of my own house.
Yeah.
All right. He told Adam to use his shirt to get the tape recorder. So Adam has to take off his shirt, whips it over on top of hooks it with the thing, pulls it towards him.
Yeah.
Yet, why doesn't he do that for himself when the phone itself is only a foot away from him at the end? And instead of taking off his own shirt, flipping it over the phone and pulling it towards him, he cuts off his foot.
Yes, he does.
He does. Okay. And the 8th one.
Doesn't he take his shirt off, though, to tie his ankle?
And that made me think of it because I thought he was taking his shirt off to flip it over on top of the phone. No, he took it off to tie it around his leg to cut off the circulation. Yeah. And then, even after he cuts off his foot, he doesn't answer the phone. The purpose of cutting off his foot was to go for the phone, and he didn't go for the phone. So I mean, those are things. Some of those I could really look past because it's like it's a movie, okay. And also, if you're in that extreme of a situation,
are you thinking clearly?
You're not thinking clearly.
Yeah.
So, but once again, even with all that, I ended up being entertained. It wasn't as gory as I had thought it was going to be.
Yeah, those get worse.
And that's what I understand.
If we did a Saw like a marathon and watched all of them, I would go back and be like, all right, guys, watch every single kill. Which one's your favorite? Because they get rough. You like the Amanda trap where she's in the jaw thing,
right?
That comes back in another movie and it fucking works.
Oh, okay.
And so you actually see that mechanism rip somebody.
So it's that whole if you show a gun in the first act, it has to shoot in the second act.
It's like it comes back and it gets not Amanda, but it gets somebody else. The other thing is, and again, this is a question that I can't answer, but I throw it out. Is when they wrote Saw, did they write it knowing they were gonna do more? Because Amanda is a main character through the entire franchise.
Right.
Amanda's in there the whole time. So,
now in this one, in the first one, she's the one with the jaw trap, right?
Yeah. So she's a victim. She's a heroin addict, which you find out. I don't think they explained it. They tell her says she's a drug.
Because he says that she's a junkie type thing. Yeah, Danny Glover does.
A heroin addict, and that comes back in the second one because she's a victim in the second one as well. So she's a huge part of the franchise all the way through to the end. I'll be really curious because again, I don't remember how it ends when the last Saw came out. I'll be really curious if she's in Saw Legacy.
Okay.
Because she's a huge part of that franchise. This is what I love about Saw, other than the story and that's the other thing. Before I start, I wanted to talk to you about because I want to get your initial reaction on that twist at the end. Did you see it coming?
Yes.
So you knew that was going to happen?
I didn't know that he was going to be it. I didn't know the person lying on the floor.
You didn't know he was going to get up?
I didn't know he was going to get up.
Okay.
So
spoiler, he gets up.
Exactly. So that took me by surprise.
Okay.
But I knew that the guy who played Zepp, the guy who was poisoned.
Yes.
I knew he wasn't it.
Okay.
And I knew Danny Glover wasn't it.
Okay.
But I didn't expect that.
Okay. So I've told this story before. Anybody that I've talked to Saw about, I've told this story before. I went and saw that movie in the theater with my wife. Okay? So 15 minutes into that movie, she leans over and goes, that guy in the middle, he's going to get up. And I was like, motherfucker, don't say that. And sure as shit, 90 minutes, that end of that movie gets in, she even told me it was going to happen. And he got up, and I was like, what the fuck? Crazy in the theater. We were like 2 of 8 people in the theater. Wow. There's nobody in there, but I was freaking out. I was like, that's awesome. And I was just like going crazy. The twist was great, even though my wife spoiled it for me. I thought the twist on that movie was creative, great. I didn't see it coming. And the other thing I love about Saw is, from a filmmaker standpoint, that movie is so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Not like they had like a little over $1 million budget, so we don't have that. But that movie is so easy. It's essentially 2 actors in one location, 3 actors in one location. It very rarely moves out of that location.
Right. And even the locations they move into are restrictive in the sense of you're in an office or a house, hospital, or a warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from a filmmaker standpoint, that's the kind of stuff, again, I know we've talked about this before, that you should chase that. If you're an indie filmmaker, that's what they were, though they had $1 million budget, that's what they were when they made Saw, was they made this as essentially an indie film, and they wrote what they could get a hold of, and that's just like what I want to keep pushing as any indie filmmaker is get a hold of what you can get a hold of,
right,
and write for those locations that you can get a hold of. Because a lot of times we write ourselves into this little box, and then we go, oh shit, I don't know how to.
We can't do it. We just don't have the budget.
No way. So that's the kind of thing I would love. So when we wrote Remission, we have this warehouse, so we have to write everything around this one location.
Yeah.
And that's just like, I keep wanting to push going back to that is and I went on an indie filmmaker tangent, so I apologize. But, that's what I keep trying to push. And again, what I love about Saw is they did a whole lot on a very minimal of as far as what they could get a hold of.
Right.
So that's one thing I do enjoy from a filmmaker standpoint about Saw. I love the movie. I'm glad you watched it. I'm glad you got your reactions. I think you ruined it for me. Now I have to go back and watch all these little things, and I'm going to shout at the TV like, "There's no you could be executed now or electrocuted right now."
Yeah.
So,
and like I said, I walked away from it thinking I should probably watch the next one and see where this journey takes me.
Well, if you want to chase that franchise, Patrick, I happen to own the whole thing, so you let me know.
I'm telling you right now, at least the next one.
Yeah.
It may get to a point where it may be too gory for me because I'm not big on torture films and stuff like that.
That's what I was going to talk to you about, too. That's the other thing is, have you seen our missing guest here tonight brought up a really good kind of topic when you watch the Saw series. If you've ever seen Eli Roth's Hostel series.
That came out about the same time.
Ish.
It? Yeah.
People started talking. That's when people started talking about torture porn,
right?
And do you really want to watch people saw off their ankles and all the other stuff? Was it too gruesome? Which is worse, Hostel or Saw, as far as the gore factor?
Well, it also brings up the question: how much do you really want to see?
Yeah. I mean, is it better to leave it up to people's imagination as to what's happening? But there's people out there that are like, if you're not showing it to me, then it ain't happening.
Right. Because in Saw here, you never saw him actually saw through his leg. That was off screen. When Amanda, you see his reaction. When Amanda did what she needed to do to get the key, you didn't see that. You saw the after effects of it. So you never really saw any real. Maybe it was because they didn't have it in their budget or whatever. But and that's what I think kept me in it as well, is because it left it up to my imagination. Yeah. So
the traps get way better in that franchise, and I'm a fan of Eli Roth's Hostel series as well. So
and we're gonna have to jump off this topic here in a second, but I do have two more things. You talked about the twist in this one. Yeah. It's hard to do a twist in the next few movies. So I mean, knowing those movies, is there something to be? I
think the twist
unexpected?
is pretty much blown after the first one, as far as what with Jigsaw, but he always has shit up his sleeve throughout the whole series.
So there is something to look forward to.
Yeah,
with that.
and they're always explaining things. And the thing with Jigsaw 2, and I'll get off this in 1 second, is they say this in the very first movie. He never killed anybody.
Right.
He never kills anybody. He just and
Charles Manson didn't either.
Well,
and he was put in jail.
But they explain as to why he's doing this as you get further into the franchise.
Because he kind of gives reasons that are kind of weak in this one, but I'll go with it. Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to say about this is Cary Elwes did receive a Razzie for his performance.
Oh, did he? Saw.
Yeah. To me, it was not connected. It was over the top. It was. I think he just wanted a paycheck. I don't know. I don't know.
I thought
it was bad because I think he's extremely talented. I think he's a great actor.
Yeah,
and I just didn't see it in this at all. I don't think he made a connection with the character at all.
Okay, well, I'm glad you watched it. I'm glad you got that one. Under your belt. So we watched. That was the first one we kind of talked about watching, and then the next one that we watched.
Well, we wanted to bring in another Christmas movie before the holidays.
Yeah. Go. You can set this one up, Patrick.
The movie was called Black Christmas, and actually this is the 2006 version of Black Christmas, not the 1974 version, which I do want to see.
Which now I'd like to see.
Yeah, and it is on YouTube. So the full version's on YouTube. So Black Christmas, Billy, a young boy, was abused by his mother as a child, His mother cheated on Billy's father and eventually killed the man while keeping Billy in the attic for a good while she was with her lover and starting a new family. I'm trying to see if I want to read that part there because I don't want to give away kind of a weird part of the movie. But Billy came out of the attic after years and brutally murdered his mother and her lover. And cut to present day, a group of 6 sorority sisters now live in that house. And they find themselves being harassed by threatening and intimidating mystery phone calls during Christmas break. As one of the girls goes missing, they begin being murdered one by one by no other than Billy.
Excuse my cough. Oh. Right in the middle of your intro, I coughed.
That's all right.
Here's a good example of one location, minimal actors.
Right.
The original writer-director of this movie called it a psychological thriller, but it would live more in the slasher genre, right? As far as what I watched,
yeah, there was not much psychological thriller
that's
part
what he
in
called
it.
his
It was
1974 version.
Yeah.
So maybe it's more mental. Maybe that version is. I can't imagine
this one was not. This was a slasher.
Yeah, total slasher. Yeah. All the way through.
Yeah.
Initial thoughts.
My initial thought was, is this just another in a long line of unnecessary remakes?
Yeah. Right there with you.
I don't know. I sat through it.
Yeah.
I'll give it that much. And I think I was probably meant to take this movie seriously, but I found it more entertaining if I did not.
Yeah. Easier to swallow, maybe.
It was easier to kind of chuckle at things. And maybe that's what it was supposed to be. I don't know. I think they did find humor in it.
Yeah.
In certain ways. I don't know how much we want to give away about this movie because I don't know.
10 years old.
It's 10 years old, and I don't know if it's a movie I would suggest for people to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. If you're a fan of Christmas horror films, like you don't chase Black Christmas first. You want to go with like your Silent Night, Deadly Nights, and stuff like that. I don't think Black Christmas is a bad watch if you're gonna try to watch a Christmas horror type film. There's clearly better ones out there, but I thought this was still a fun. It was watchable. I had this movie. I watched it a while back when it first came out.
Yeah.
I think this is the second time I've actually watched that movie.
Okay.
And I own it.
Yeah. This is the first time I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I think it tried to be scary, but just failed.
Oh, there's no scary in it at all. It's total camp fun. Like, here's the best thing about those movies is what I think is the kills. How creative the kills get. Because there were some creative kills in the movie.
There was a couple creative ones. It was extremely eyeball intensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, it had to be for what they were trying to go for. But, I mean...
Yeah. Well, the eyeball thing made sense because of the doll and all the other stuff.
Right.
Explained why he was doing the eyeball thing.
I'm not sure I can explain it, but it was... He popped out his sister's eyeball to begin with and ate that one, and then like
the dolls, he removed
the doll removed her eyes. But I'm not sure why he did it, and every one of his victim had eye injuries going throughout the
favorite part of the movie, and I probably laughed at this part the hardest, was when he was going around the house killing his sister. Well, his sister his mom and his dad and. That wasn't his sister, though. It was
it was.
Yeah.
It was.
I got you. Yep, I got you.
I'm gonna say it. His mongoloid sister daughter.
When he went around the house doing that, and he went into the kitchen and fucking made cookie cutters out of his mom. Cooked them. Cookies out of his mom's bag.
He had Christmas jerky.
Yeah, and he just like after he kills everybody, he's sitting at the table like dipping it in like milk. And just eating it at the table. Yeah. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
So I thought that was. That's the kind of shit that is in this movie, really.
Right. Well, and I wrote down, like, one of my favorite lines, and it had nothing to do with the rest of the movie. One of the characters turns around a corner, opens a door, and there's this Santa Claus decoration sitting there that scares the shit out of her, and the line is just, fuck you, Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Just one of my favorite lines, had nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
So, acting was bad.
Yeah.
It was really bad. There's no noteworthy acting in the movie. It's just, again, it's for some people chase these kind of movies though. They chase the camp,
right?
And that's what it's fun, and that's what people want.
It wasn't the worst thing I've seen, but it's not something I'd say, hey, you got to go out and see this one. But if you want to include it in your Christmas horror, list, if you're doing 30 days of Christmas horror, if you can even do that.
Yeah, I don't think you can even do that.
You might be able to. Then I'd say throw it on the list.
Yeah.
It's not the worst thing.
Rewatchable?
Rewatchable if I was going to do like a riff tracks thing with it or something like that. But
Gotcha.
But it's not something I'm going to say next year. You know what?
Gotcha.
I need to watch this because I need to see him eat another eyeball.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I'm going to end that section just by saying that it was, Santa left me a lump of coal film in my movie viewing stocking. Okay.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I think that's your the best review you can
do at this time for that. So I do have something I want to wrap up with, but before we do that, plugs or anything else you want to talk about?
You can end with your ending.
What do you got on your list? I know you've got everything written on orange on that white paper.
I just wanted to talk about the Crypt TV thing because I found that early in the week, and we talked about Saw again. Huge fan. I'll watch that any day of the week and twice on Sunday. We can go ahead and pass over Black Christmas. I am glad I watched it, but I'm glad I don't have to watch it again. And plug-wise, we are at the midnightfrightfilms.com. A new thing will be dropping on there fairly within the next couple of days. If this isn't on before that, then listen to this and then go to that. Bloody Night Before Christmas, we shot it 2 years ago. We'll be at midnightfrightfilms.com, and then it'll link you to our YouTube page. Also, if you're on the Facebook, go to find Midnight Frightcast while you're there. And like Midnight Frightcast on Facebook as well, because we're dropping the podcast over there as well, where you can like, share, and do all the other things. Find us on Facebook at Midnight Fright Films as well, and like us on there. And those are all of the plugs I believe I have.
I think I don't have any other plugs.
Do you want to drop the movie we're watching next week before you do your ending?
Let's do that.
Not next week, but for the next podcast, we are going to be watching and dissecting Rob Zombie's 31. Super stoked about it. Really excited. Just got a hold of it today. Haven't seen it yet. I'll be watching it here in the next few hours probably. And then Patrick will be watching it, and hopefully Greg will join us and anybody else that wants to get on and talk about 31.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a couple more people on here for the next time. So I just thought I would end up, we're ending the year here, moving into the holidays and into the New Year's. And I thought I would just share a little story that I share with my students that I work with every year around this time. And it's a story written by Scott Johnson. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I don't want to be reading something off here and having him pop up and say, excuse me. I think I wrote that.
Yeah.
So this is written by Scott Johnson, and it's slightly modified, but it's still all writing credits go to him. So this was, and Josh has never heard this, so he's going to be hearing this for the very first time. So I hope he enjoys it, but more importantly, I hope you enjoy it. This is our kind of like gift before our final gift once that movie drops later this week. So,
yes.
So this is called 'Twas the Night Before Krampus. 'Twas the night before Krampus, with all sound forbidden, myself and my sister kept quietly hidden. The street lights were dark and no carolers sang, not even the blessings of the church bells rang. Beneath our beds we were both huddled tight, hoping that he would skip us tonight. Now everyone knows of jolly Saint Nick, and the gifts he brings on his single night trick. All the presents and baubles and candies and toys that he brings every Christmas to good girls and boys. But it wasn't the man with red suit and beard whose annual Christmas visit we feared. Outside in the snow we heard a loud howl, the crunching of ice, and an animal growl. There came a loud laugh from out on the lawn, and from out of the earth the foul demon spawned. My sister and I both stared horrified, and prayed that the creature could not get inside. A split moment later, with a thundering pound, our door burst to splinters all over the ground. Into our house the vile creature came, this horrible beast, von Krampus by name. He was massively tall, at least 7 feet, from the points of his horns to his hoof-shodden feet. A mouldering mound that he wore for a coat was the shaggy long hair of a filthy dead goat. And I cried and I swallowed my terrified pangs at the sight of his wickedly razor-sharp fangs. His claw-fingered hands looked ready for pain. In one was a bullwhip, the other a chain. He growled and he sneered, lips dripping with bile. He pointed at us, said, "Naughty," then smiled. My sister and I, we both shook with fear. What terrible things had we done this year? We tried to be good and thought we succeeded. We minded our manners, no punishment needed. We both made good grades, we neither one lied, or cheated or stole. We had nothing to hide. But Krampus still came, with his evil heart black, to stuff me and sister right into his sack. To take us away to his punishment cave where all the bad children he did enslave. We ran to our parents behind them to hide, but they both shook their heads and stepped sadly aside. "You must face the music," my father lamented. Von Krampus then laughed, his expression demented. My sister and I hugged each other tight and prayed that someone could save us that night. And just when we gave up and all hope was gone, there came a loud clatter from out on the lawn. With a tinkle of bells our spirits did lift. Von Krampus snarled, the air he did sniff. On the wind came the scent of holly and pine, of gingerbread cookies and holiday wine. In the doorway he stood in his suit of bright red. St. Nicholas came. We cried out and said, "Save us, St. Nicholas, there's been a mistake. We've been good all year. You can't let him take." "Hold on, not so fast." And he raised his great hand. "There's something that's happening you don't understand. Von Krampus did come, that much is true. But the demon of Christmas did not come for you." At the demon we stared, both of us confused. He was there for someone, if not for us. Then who? Then I started to think, and it all became clear. Who'd been the naughtiest of us all that year? I looked at my sister, and she back at me. Then we looked at our parents, and seemed to agree. Had spent all our savings on clothes and on shoes, while father cheated on taxes and could not quit the booze. And Mom also gambled and would constantly swear, while father had something they called an affair. The more that I thought, the more I understood. We children were fine, but our parents, no good. "But children," my father protested, and Santa's face twisted toward the man he detested. "Christmas time's for children and gifts to be given. You took their innocence, and that can't be forgiven. You scared them to silence, their souls you did twist, and to top it off, you told them I didn't exist. For your lifelong naughtiness the piper must be paid," and he sent Krampus upon them with a dismissive wave. The adults screamed as they went into his sack, and we cried until Santa patted my back. "What's wrong?" asked St. Nicholas. "I thought you'd be happy to be rid of those people who treated you crappy." "We are," I sniffed, sincere as could be. "But what is to become of my sister and me?" St. Nicholas smiled and laughed loud and deep, as did Krampus, a sound that still haunts my sleep. "Why, you'll come with me," he said with great joy. "I'll have great use for a good girl and boy. You'll come to my workshop and work with my elves. I promise that both of you will enjoy yourselves. I'll teach you the secret of my toy-making ways, and you'll take over for me when I've ended my days." "But," said my sister, her outlook quite grim, "won't Krampus be lonely? What about him?" "I wish to thank him, and I know the way. I will go with him and be his protege." And so, from Kris Kringle I learned to make toys, and my sister to torture naughty girls and boys. And So this ends my quaint Christmas story, and if you're nice, you have nothing to worry. But if you end up as a naughty side lister, next year you'll meet Krampus and my now twisted sister.
And with that, thank you for hanging out with us on the Midnight Frycast. Happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.
All right, Happy New Year, everyone.